In 1998, Ewan McGregor was a bona fide film star in Great Britain and a rising star in the U.S., but he took a break from movies to appear in the London stage production of Little Malcolm and His Struggle Against the Eunuchs. Ewan's uncle Dennis Lawson directed the play.
As an uncle and nephew, it's a really special relationship to me. And I asked him, because I wanted to go back on the stage, and asked him to direct it, because I thought, I haven't done it for 7 years, I'll be so frightened, you know, and I was terrified. So I thought, well, at least if he's there, it'll feel good.
We were doing a dress rehearsal or something, and he said to me, because I'm so nervous, and I said, well, you will be nervous. And that's all I said to him, and he was so furious, that's all I could say.
Nervous or not, Ewan's performance was a hit with both critics and theater fans. In the audience was director Baz Luhrmann, who was casting a new movie musical called Moulin Rouge. Luhrmann was searching for an actor to play the very demanding lead role of Christian.
He ends there. He ends as Montgomery Clift, if you like. He ends as a wounded being. But he must begin as an extraordinary, innocent, wide-eyed, and vulnerable. That is an extraordinary acting range. And of course he had to sing and dance as well. So, you know, in anyone's book, it was an extraordinary challenge. And what was extraordinary was that here was an actor who was on stage in the West End and was really playing a man who could look at the camera, wide-eyed, you know, with a 100-piece orchestra behind him, say I love you in that kind of vulnerable innocence that we saw in the movies of the 40s and the 50s.
There was one final test that Ewan needed to pass.
It was about finding the right match for that handful of fireworks called Nicole Kidman. And, you know, because they really had to be Hepburn and Tracy, you know, Burton and Taylor. This is Nicole Kidman, you know, this is Ewan McGregor, you know. And when they hit, you've got this really focused force.
How were you the first day of rehearsals compared to what we saw on screen? Was it a little rusty or bumpy going in the beginning?
Oh yeah, I mean, we came a long way. I mean, in all respects, because it was quite a tall order. We had to reinvent the musical for today's audience, so we had to kind of work out how you do that.
The first day, it was like, you know, the usual chit-chat, let's get to work. Into the room we go, into the rehearsal space, and we probably didn't get to rehearse for a good 2 hours because, you know, boom, it was there. Just the chemistry was there, just the, you know, the firing off each other, the sort of gags, the sort of brother-sister tease, the whole chemistry that you see on screen was there from the moment they started to work.
Baz was very clever, and he made them start singing to each other almost immediately. And so they got over that embarrassment of having to sing and pretend to be in love. I think they had a great time working together.
We rehearsed for like 4 months, and in that time we were doing technical stuff and dancing and singing, but working the group scenes, and all the time Baz was just kind of letting us soak into the world that he was going to create. To have that length of time just meant by the time we got on set, anything was possible, you know. To burst into song was second nature to us, and anything was achievable.
That's what's really exciting about him, is that he does his homework and then he plays. And what I mean by that is that acting is playing. It's a childish game of pretending that is very adult in the way in which you go about doing it.
It was just incredible to see, you know, to stand on, at the end, and when the spectacular is going on, to stand with Nicole on the stage with like 80 dancers and 300 extras and all that, the music and the colour, it was just extraordinary.
I remember him calling me on a mobile from Sydney, and I was in London, and he was backstage on the set, as it were, and he said, Dan, I'm just going to do this number with hundreds of dancers and me, it's great, it's great.
Still, Ewan had his fears.
I think the thing that terrified him most of all was having to dance in front of hundreds of dancers. It's very different kind of rehearsing with one person, with Nicole, and sort of in a rehearsal room. And then the first day that they came out on set in front of the dancers, he kind of went, oh no, this could all go seriously wrong. I think that was the only thing. I think he once said that actually it was far easier for him to take his clothes off in a film than to dance. So it was probably his nightmare come true.
In addition to performing, Ewan impressed his director with yet another talent.
He had to play a poet. So he used to have the old typewriter from the set in his trailer because he needed to learn to type on it. And when I went in, he had started writing poetry on it. And it was tremendous. And in fact, a piece of his poetry is in the film. There's a little voiceover where he goes, and each day I go, and so on and so forth. And it's in the film, and he wrote that piece of poetry.
Moulin Rouge was a film very much made from everybody's passion. It was a hugely passionate affair, you know, the whole thing. And we were lost in this, as can happen in some films. It was kind of magical. It was a magic time. Going to work didn't feel like going to work, and it was just a magical time, really. Quite amazing.
When we return, Ewan's shocking revelation on the set of Star Wars.
And I wasn't in there, and I thought, my God.
And later, Ewan McGregor's personal crusade.
As a father, I have the right, and I should have the right, to protect my children, right?